Hey everyone, welcome to the channel where we talk about all things movies. Welcome especially if you're new. If you enjoy talking about movies and staying up to speed on what's in theaters and what's worth checking out, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of my reviews. Alright, with that we're going to jump into today's video. I just got back from seeing The Forgiven at the theater, so we're going to talk about it. In this movie, The Forgiven takes place over a weekend in the high Atlas Mountains of Morocco and explores the reverberations of a random accident on the lives of both the local Muslims and Western visitors to a house party in a grand villa. So this movie has a lot of stuff. I considered doing a spoiler review for this movie just because I think there's enough to talk about there. But thinking about it, I just didn't actually care for the movie enough to talk about it in a spoiler fashion. So we're gonna keep this non-spoilers, and yeah, I've kind of already set the stage for where this review is gonna go. But overall, I thought this movie had a couple good qualities. It had very good acting, and it was an interesting enough character study, and it presented some interesting ideas, especially contrasting what it's like to live as the rich and what it's like to live as the poor. That was kind of the extent of what I appreciated about this movie. Outside of that, there were several things that I didn't really care for all that much. First up, I just didn't like any of the characters. There's ones that I was okay enough with, but there were several that I just didn't care for. Like personally, it's not that they were bad characters. I thought they were all relatively well written, but like for me and like the personalities and that sort of thing that I like, there were basically none to be had. So for my personal enjoyment of the film, that takes me out of it. As far as like, I like to see people on screen that I would maybe get along with in real life and that sort of thing. That's not to say everyone has to be that way, but when a movie has nobody like that, it's very much more difficult for me to enjoy the film. So that was the first. The second was the story was kind of interesting enough, but it also wasn't all that interesting. It I thought the ending was fairly predictable, and then they introduced elements of a mystery that they hint at there's more to the mystery than what they end up revealing. So I thought that that was sort of unfulfilled. And then yeah, it was kind of weird just having two very contrasting storylines, and then not really being all that invested in either, at least personally. So there's just kind of a lot of that. I thought the story as well is fairly depressing on top of that, and like the subject matter is pretty depressing too when you're basically forced to take a look at what it's like to live in Morocco and just the poverty that's there. So it's not to say that I wouldn't want to see that in a film. It's just like it was one thing after another that made it fairly. It just wasn't a very enjoyable film. And then that compounded with the fact that somebody's phone went off like it was probably like 7 times. There was their phone, like they did not silence their phone. There was like a little jingle from getting a notification or a text, and they even had like an alarm go off on their phone at one point. So it was like that, and then yeah. So there was that just shapes the experience, and the movie didn't really make up for that, unfortunately. And then it felt a little long for 2 hours. The pacing was pretty slow, and again, it didn't really help that I wasn't all that invested in the characters. Like, yes, there were some interesting things there, but overall, another thing I didn't like was the soundtrack. I didn't really care for a whole lot. It's done by one of my favorite composers, Lorne Balfe, and I think it fit the film pretty well, but it wasn't the music itself wasn't appealing to me. So it was just kind of, yeah, again, one thing after the other. And so we're just gonna, yeah, to wrap things up, I would give this film a letter grade of a C. I thought it was pretty meh for me personally. Now I see some merit there. Again, there was very good acting, and it was an interesting enough of a character study. So I did consider it putting it in the B category because there's a lot of goodness there, but at the end of the day, it was just it wasn't there was basically no element of me enjoying it to I needed at least like a hint of that to be able to put it in the B tier for me personally. Now that's I think maybe objectively it's maybe a B tier movie, but yeah, my personal enjoyment of it was a solid C, and so it's not one that I'd recommend checking out. I think there's several other better movies that we've had recently that I would certainly recommend first. But yeah, if you've had a chance to see the film though, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If I'd be curious if anyone truly enjoys this film, or like what elements of it they do enjoy. Maybe people who can connect with some of the characters more than I did might, or just appreciate the types of characters that are there. But yeah, so share your thoughts in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this review, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Alright, with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next review.